In the heart of Yoruba land, beyond the reach of the city's roar, stood a majestic palace with ancient red walls and roofs shaped like crowns. The palace of King Adeyanju, the chosen by blood, crowned by tradition, and beloved by the people. King Adeyanju was a man of wisdom and strength. He ruled with grace and pride, clothed in deep-flowing agbada, his beaded crown glinting under the sun. He had 4 wives, Queen Mojup, Queen Ajoke, Queen Ronk, and Queen Abik. Each beautiful in their own way, their roles in the palace were sacred, guardians of tradition, symbols of union, mothers of legacy. But something had shifted in the air. Abik, the 4th wife, seemed different. She no longer joined in praise songs. Her laughter vanished, her eyes always lingered on the king longer than necessary, not with love, but with silent dread. Rumors brewed like storm clouds. The palace staff whispered at night. It was said that Abik had seen things, dreams filled with blood, voices whispering her name, shadows dancing beside the king's throne. One evening, the wives gathered for a dinner beneath the moonlight. Draped in rich fabrics and gold bangles, they sat beside the king, their smiles painted carefully. Mojup leaned in and whispered, "The spirits are restless." Just as the breeze rose, something impossible happened. A figure appeared from the air, a woman with eyes like burnt coal and hair that floated like it was underwater. Her fingers were long, her feet didn't touch the earth. The smell of herbs, dust, and ancient secrets spread. "She's a witch," Ronk gasped. Guards tried to move, but couldn't. The woman's eyes froze them in place. The king slowly stood, gripping his staff with a carved eagle on top. "You're not welcome," King Adeyanju said boldly. The witch gave no reply. She stared into his soul, and then pointed at his wives. "There are traitors here," she said in a voice like wind and thunder. "2 wives carry evil. They wish for your death. They drink poison with smiles and hide knives with silk." Panic flashed on every face, except Abik. She remained calm, her eyes locked on the witch. The king's fingers tightened around his staff. He lifted it high and shouted a word passed down from the ancestors. High voltage, the staff lit up like lightning. Thunder cracked, and wind surged. The witch screamed as energy pushed her back. In a flash, she vanished. But the warning remained. All the wives looked terrified, except one, Abik. She did not look afraid. She looked relieved. After the witch vanished into the air like smoke from sacred fire, silence fell upon the courtyard. The guards unfroze, the wives whispered nervously, and the moon seemed to stare down with uneasy light. King Adeyanju sat back down slowly. His fingers trembled, but not from fear. His heart knew the truth was near. He had trusted these women with his life, his home, and his bloodline. The next morning, he called a private council. Only 3 people were allowed to attend. Baba Ifa, the old priest, Asu, his loyal advisor, and the mysterious hunter woman named Yemisi, who had eyes like eagle feathers and a heart sharper than blades. "I believe I'm under attack," the king said quietly. Baba Ifa nodded. 2 paths lie ahead, trust and blindness or suspicion and wisdom. You must search your house before your enemies burn it. Meanwhile, Queen Abik wandered alone through the palace garden. Flowers bloomed beside her, but her steps were heavy. She carried a secret she had not spoken to anyone. She had dreamed of the witch weeks before. In her dream, the witch stood between 2 wives, Mojup and Ronk, and poured poison into their bowls while they smiled. The next day, she saw those same bowls in the dining hall. She tried to speak, but the others mocked her. Even Ajoke, the 2nd wife, dismissed her as paranoid and childless. So Abik kept quiet and watched. And now the witch had appeared for real. In the days that followed, strange things happened. The king's robe was found ripped with knife marks in the royal laundry. A charm buried under his throne was discovered and burned. One of the royal guards fell sick after drinking from the king's cup. Candle, the palace was full of shadow, even during the day. So King Adeyanju acted. He announced a 3-day fasting and prayer, where no one would eat, and every corner of the palace would be swept and blessed. On the second night, as the king prayed beneath the shrine of Ogun, Yemisi entered with quiet footsteps. "I searched the wives' quarters," she said. "I found a box under Majup's bed. Inside, powder, bones, and a mirror with your face scratched out." Fire the king was silent, not because he doubted, but because he had loved Majup since he was 17. Later that night, Abik came to his chamber. "My king," she whispered, "Majup and Ronk are not who they once were. They speak in riddles. They do not sleep. I fear they want more than power, they want your place in history." The king stared out of his window. The stars blinked softly. "What should I do?" he asked. Abik placed her hand gently on his arm. "Let the truth rise like the sun. Don't fight in darkness." The sun rose behind the palace walls with a color too red, like it carried warning. Drummers played softly, but their beats felt slower. The king walked through his courtyard dressed in deep indigo, his staff carved with symbols from the ancestors. His face was calm, but within him, fire roared. He had made his decision. "I will not accuse anyone with mouth alone," he said to his advisers. "Let the spirit speak. Let the truth stand without my voice." So he summoned Baba Ifa once again, for a ritual known as Iwo, the ancient test of spirits. No lie could pass through it. No mask could survive. That evening, the courtyard was dressed like a shrine. Lamps lit the air, herbs burned, and chants filled the space like wind moving through tall grass. Each wife was asked to sit in a sacred circle. Majup, adorned in coral beads, eyes restless. Ronk, dressed in gold wrappers, her fingers clenching. A joke, steady but distant. Abik, simple in white lace, her gaze soft and open. The priest poured water into a calabash and whispered the names of the ancestors. He then held up a piece of kola nut and said, "Truth will rise. Shadows will fade." The wives were asked to touch the water, one by one. When Majup placed her hand inside, it boiled. Gasps rang out. Baba Ifa turned to the king slowly. "She has spoken," he said. "The spirits burn where lies sit." Majup shouted, "It's witchcraft. A trick." But then Ronk stepped forward, angry. "If we want to speak truth, then let's say it." Her voice was sharp. "I'm tired of hiding. Yes, we wanted you gone, Adayanju. You only listened to old men and spirits. You gave us no power, no voice." Silence crashed over the space. Abik looked down. A joke was frozen. King Adayanju stood, sadness in his eyes. "Power is not taken in secret. If you wanted voice, why did you choose poison?" Ronk threw her wrappers aside, trembling. "You never saw us, only our beads." Baba Ifa raised his staff. The wind howled. The calabash shattered. That was the sign. The spirits had judged, and the verdict was clear. Majup and Ronk were stripped of their queen titles that night. They were taken away not with hatred, but with heavy hearts. Women who once danced in the king's joy now walked into silence. Later, Abik sat beside the king under the moon. "Thank you," he said softly. "I only protected what was still alive," she replied. Days passed after the storm of truth. The palace air felt lighter, though silence lingered in many corners. The people spoke in hushed voices. Some mourned the loss of the queens they once praised, others rejoiced that darkness had been exposed. But the king did not celebrate, he reflected. King Adayanju stood on the palace balcony, watching the sun melt into the hills. His crown felt heavier than ever. Betrayal left him wounded, not just in heart but in trust. Yet from pain, a clearer path began to form. Among all voices, Abik's silence had spoken the loudest. Her truth had not come from shouting, but from stillness. She had protected her king, not for power, but for purpose. So one morning, the king summoned the elders, priests, and townspeople. Dressed in royal white, he stood beside Abik in the grand hall. "Let it be known," he said, "that loyalty lives not in noise, but in courage. I name Queen Abik as the guardian of truth, second only to the crown. The crowd murmured. A new title had been born. Abik did not replace Majup or Ronk. She became something greater, a symbol of protection, honesty, and inner strength. She was given her own chamber, decorated with calm colors and sacred carvings. Women from nearby villages came to learn from her how to balance silence with voice, how to stand strong without burning bridges. Abik began hosting monthly councils, not just for royal matters, but for the healing of women's wounds. Betrayal had opened many scars in the palace, but she helped them close with truth and tenderness. In time, even a joke softened. She came to Abik one morning with swollen eyes. "I didn't believe you. I was wrong." Abik embraced her gently. "Sometimes, fear is louder than facts. You're not the only one." And King Adeyanju? He ruled with greater wisdom now. He included women in council matters. He listened more. He walked less like a lion, and more like a mountain. The palace stood stronger than ever. And as seasons changed, stories of the king's survival spread across Yoruba lands, not just about a crown saved, but about a queen who chose truth over comfort. Months turned into peace, and peace into comfort. The palace bloomed with new faces and laughter. Children ran across polished marble, elders told tales under moonlight, and Queen Abik's teaching spread to neighboring villages. She had become more than a guardian, she had become a guide. But peace, like the rain, must one day meet thunder. One night, as the stars hid behind thick clouds, a scream pierced the quiet. The guards rushed to the eastern gate, and found a young maiden collapsed, her skin pale, her lips whispering words no one understood. Baba Ifa examined her the next day. "She's touched by something, not of this world," he said. "A force returns. One we buried too quickly." That evening, lightning struck the old fig tree beside the palace. Its bark split in two, and inside was a mark. A strange symbol. The same one carved into the witch's palm long ago. "Candle, she has returned," said Asu, the king's advisor. "But not with fury. With a message." King Adeyanju gathered his council. "We will not run. We will meet this spirit with strength and truth again." Queen Abik spoke calmly. "We must listen first. The witch may carry more than danger. She may carry warning." That night, the palace gathered at the edge of the sacred forest, led by drums and chants. And then, the air shifted. The witch appeared, but not from shadows. She walked from fire, calmly, wrapped in smoke and silence. Her voice echoed, "I came not for war, but for balance." The palace has healed, but the land has not. 2 queens betrayed 1 king, but many rulers across Yoruba forget their people. She paused. "I gave truth once. Now I give vision." She stretched her hands, and light spilled into the eyes of the king and his council. They saw villages burning from greed, elders ignored, shrines empty, rivers poisoned. "I offer you a gift," she said. "Use this site to heal, not just your home, but your land." King Adeyanju fell to his knees. Not from weakness, but from realization. "You are right," he said. "We protected the crown, but not the roots." Queen Abik stepped forward. "Then let us return to the roots." The witch smiled, fading into wind. Balance begins with those who dare to listen. With the witch's vision still fresh in their minds, King Adeyanju and Queen Abik set out, not in royal convoys, but in modest garments, walking among the people of Yorubaland. The crown no longer sat only on the king's head, it now lived in the heart of every child, elder, mother, and farmer. Their journey led them to towns long forgotten, where traditions had faded and people had lost faith in the palace. But when they saw the king standing in front of their broken shrines and Queen Abik teaching under trees, they began to believe again. They restored sacred rivers, holding rituals to bring purity back. They rebuilt ancestral shrines, honoring names that had been lost. Abik formed women's circles, giving voice to those once silenced. The king listened to farmers, not just warriors, building new markets and roads. Each step healed more than land, it healed memory. The betrayal had caused deep cracks, but the journey planted new roots. Back at the palace, a new festival was created, the Day of Truth. Each year, it honored courage, honesty, and balance. People sang songs not just of royalty, but of those who dared to speak even when their voices shook. Years passed, and Queen Abik became a legend. Children knew her as the Queen of the Quiet Storm, the woman who saved a king without raising a sword. King Adeyanju grew old, surrounded by loyal hearts, wise counsel, and strong people. And when the day came for him to pass on the staff of leadership, he did so with joy, not fear. He had seen evil. He had faced betrayal. But he had also witnessed truth. In Yorubaland, the palace still stands, not just on stones, but on stories. And every whisper beneath the crown reminds the people. Truth may tremble, but it does not fall. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for more stories.